Hey everybody, before I get started, I just want to mention a couple of ways that you can engage with me on a more personal level. I have a few avenues set up and I keep focusing on one, and I figured, why don't I make a short little video talking about all of them real quick before we get into these episodes. So first thing, Patreon. There's a link in the episode description, and every episode description to the Patreon, as well as a video on the feed called Major Announcement that has all the details of what each tier offers and how much they cost. I implore you to check that out. I offer a lot of cool shit for my patrons. Second thing, the Discord channel. There's also a Discord link in the episode description, and in every episode description, I have multiple channels set up there for each show that I'm covering, and it's a great way to just engage with me. I have a channel set up for MMA talk as well. I'm a big MMA fan, so if you're an MMA fan, you can check that out as well. There's a link to the Discord in the episode description. And then lastly, the Facebook and Twitter. Social media. Follow me on there. I post news on there. When I say news, I mean like, hey, I'm stopping covering this show. Hey, I'm starting covering this show. Let me know what you think about this. I do live watches of things on Facebook where like I'll check in and say, I'm watching so-and-so show. And then I'll like live comment while I'm watching it. And that'll be cool if maybe you watch that show too and you want to watch along with me, or you're watching it later and you will see my thoughts, which are usually pretty entertaining because I'm usually pretty high when I'm writing them. So check out all those links in each episode description, and let's talk about this episode. Peace.
One mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic. Yeah. All I need is one mic.
Hey everybody, welcome back to One Mic, and today I'm here to talk about Season 1, Episode 4 of Apple TV's The Changeling, entitled The Wise Ones. So, if you watch my video for Episodes 1 through 3, you already know I like this show. But I'm going to start by skipping over the literal opening scene, and we're going to get right into it. And say this episode opens up with us learning that Apollo is going to get 70 fucking grand for that To Kill a Mockingbird book. Now, while him and Patrice are waiting to meet up with William Wheeler, Apollo and the audience learn, us, that there's a tribute page for Brian. But in true internet fashion, it is replete with shitty comments from shitty people. And I like how when William pulls up to where they're at, just like any real black man would, Patrice begins to immediately cook this motherfucker, talking about who the fuck Dre's tab, starts saying he ain't never been with a woman, which he probably wouldn't have said if he knew the stuff that we're going to learn as the episode progresses, but whatever. So William drives them to the boat, and while I got y'all here, what was up with that airplane reference? Like, I don't know if I just missed it. Like, so Patrice said something like, no one said anything about getting on a boat, and then William leans uncomfortably close to Apollo and says, you ever been in a cockpit before, Joey? And then like laughs and says he ages himself, which is a line from Airplane. Like, okay, I was a smidge high when I was watching this, I'm not gonna lie, but I don't get the reference. I mean, I get the reference, obviously. I know it's from Airplane, but like, I don't know why he said it in that moment. Like, I don't know what was to come from that. Let me know in the comments if you can make sense of the Airplane line. Anyway, they get to the point, where we start to learn about William. I'm struggling to like which things do I want to say and which things I don't. We learned that he's a coder who made an app that is essentially Airbnb for boats. You know, I thought that sounded like a really good idea, so I looked it up to see whether or not that's a thing that already exists, and it is. It's called Get My Boat. Looks like most of the boats on there average about $200 an hour with a 4-hour minimum, so if you want to do that, pony up 800. We learned that the book is for his estranged wife, Greta. It's a last-ditch effort to win her back. He says that when you spend your whole life working to provide for your family, you don't really get to be with your family, and they don't ever really get to know you, and you don't ever really get to know them. And now he's spending all the money he has left in the world to try to win them back. And he asked them if they think it'll work, and Patrice says, just tell her what you told us, which sounded dismissive and was funny at the moment, but would probably work. And then, as if that wasn't enough, while William is crying over using everything he has in this world to try to win his wife back, Patrice cold ass is sitting there with this awkward, like, this is awkward, so I just want to leave face. And then he does. He just gets up and leaves. And like SpongeBob on the fucking, all right, I'm gonna head out, like, kind of deal. Like, he just gets up and goes. And then Apollo leaves, just kind of like awkwardly pats him on the shoulder. That was a funny scene, man. As funny as you could make a scene about a man crying over losing his family. So Apollo has more nightmares when he was chained up and beaten by Emma. And then he wakes up and decides he wants a little more torture. And he goes straight to the comment section on Brian's tribute page. Like, man, he is a glutton for punishment. And then he goes to meet with Emma's sister. pays her 10 G's for handling Brian's funeral and everything else she handled while he was locked up. And while there, he gets a text saying that Emma's alive and a pin drop location for him to go to. And when he gets to the location, it's William acting like that was not a really weird fucking thing to do. And side note on William, Patrice did a search on William and confirmed that he's who he says he is. So cool, whatever. But his name is William Webster Wheeler. And I just thought it was funny that Patrice looked up information on www on the www. So William says he's only recently learned that Emma is on an island and he can help Apollo find it, but they need a boat. Apollo doesn't have a boat, but of course, conveniently, there's an app for that. William also gives Apollo a file that supposedly has proof that Emma is alive. He forwards it to Patrice because you did, in fact, used to not be able to watch flash files on an iPhone. But Patrice got a goddamn bat computer. Like, did you see that shit? Like, that might be better than what's in the bat cave. And he opens up the file, and it is, in fact, what appears to be CCTV footage of Emma. She's, like, wearing a cloak, looks completely out of her mind. Another thing of note in this scene that I liked, at one point, Apollo says maybe William wants to throw him off the boat, and he doesn't even care. And we see Patrice kind of pause and make a face, because that's a callback to a scene in an earlier episode, I think it was the last one, episode 3, where he expressed concern that Apollo was going to kill himself. And I didn't get into spoilers in my episode 1 through 3 video, but I really liked that scene because I felt like that was a very accurate portrayal of how 2 black men at our age would handle that sort of situation. It's like, I'm going to use our hobby that we love as kind of an entry point into a serious conversation. Like, haha, you won't see how much the book sells for, but seriously, I don't want you to kill yourself. Like, it's like, we don't discuss our feelings well, but a good joke does kind of help us get our foot in the door, you know, get the ball rolling on a conversation that might be one that we would struggle to have otherwise. So I felt I liked the accuracy there. That felt like a real conversation that two black men our age would have. I said our age. I don't know how old either of them are. They're probably both older than me. I don't know. Now at this point, I'm going to get a little bit more concise regarding explaining what happened once William and Apollo got to the island, because I have some theories that I want to discuss with you guys surrounding the opening and closing scenes in this episode. I want to talk about those theories at the end. So I don't want to be like going scene by scene trying to convey what happened on the island. So I'm going to shorten that up a little bit and get those theories at the end. And then I want to hear your theories about William in the comments, because I just don't know what to make of this fucking guy and how he always has an answer for everything, but also how he consistently only reveals certain bits of information once it becomes evident he's hiding information. Like, one of those people who's like, he'll lie to you until he's caught and then he'll tell you the truth. So like, I don't know. I can't wrap my head around William, and I think it's because I'm so focused on the theories that I'm going to discuss at the end of the video. But yeah, I want to hear what you guys think about William. I can't make much sense out of this guy. I just know that I don't fucking trust him. But I think we're not supposed to. I don't know. Anyway, let's wrap this up. So, on the boat, heading to the island, a couple of things of note happen. One, Apollo throws his wedding ring into the water and replaces it with a piece of the string that he cut off Emma's wrist that started this whole shit. I don't know what that's meant to do. I could see throwing off the wedding ring, like, yo, fuck her. She killed my son. Whatever. Replacing it with the string that is the reason that that this whole thing started anyway. I don't know what he thinks that's gonna accomplish. Anyway, 2, he immediately finds the island, and William says he's tried to find it a bunch of times and hasn't, and Apollo found it on the first try, revealing that William isn't being honest again about something, in this case his ability to drive a boat. So on the island we meet Cal, which is short for Callisto, another Greek mythological name, just like Apollo. Callisto was, I looked this up, I didn't know, I'm not gonna pretend like I know all of this shit. Callisto was a nymph who Zeus's wife Hera turned into a bear. I don't know if that's going to come into play on the show, but I think we can all agree something not looking like what it is a pretty big theme on this show. So, could be. Cal is the head of the Wise Ones, which is, like I said, this group of women. I called them witches at the top, but I mean, that's what Apollo called them at the end of episode 3, so whatever. But so, actually, no. I probably shouldn't have called them witches. The Wise Ones, I see I fucked up. I wish I could rewind to my beginning. The witches are the ones that, like the woman who was in Brazil that Emma talked to, the one who put the string on her. The Wise Ones aren't witches. they're women who basically all dealt with the same shit that Emma did. Through an elaborate puppet show, and I still don't know if that was creepy or dumb as fuck. Cal explains that essentially these babies that the women are saying aren't babies. They're changelings that are, she doesn't use the term changelings, but it's what it is. They're essentially decoys made to look like they're babies. Now, who is behind this and to what end? I'm sure we'll get more of that as the story progresses. But we learned that William's wife Greta is one of them, and that William's story essentially mirrors Apollo's kind of one-to-one, except for the fact that William has an additional kid who is still alive that he liked to be with. The woman from the support group who told Apollo it's not a baby, she's there as well. She's one of them. The women also refer to Emma in the past tense, so she's no longer there, but once was. So now we also have the question of where she at now and why. So they put both Cal and Apollo in jail cells after informing them that usually they kill men. So this putting you in this jail cell is a bonus. Cal beats the shit out of William to death. At least that's what me and Apollo thought. Apollo even says, like, how are you not dead? Which was my thought, too. William tells him he's going to have to eat some humble pie, whatever that means, in order to get his wife back. He says that if Apollo helps him get Greta back, he'll help Apollo with Emma. So he wants Apollo to put in a good word for him with Greta. And if he doesn't help him, everyone on the island's going to die. Now, there's a lot to theorize about here. And again, I want to hear your theories, particularly about William and what he's up to. But I got some other stuff I want to discuss here. So in the episode, we see a flashback to Apollo's mom. She's beat up. She's standing at what I would call a pier if it weren't for the fact that it was concrete. Which I don't know. I don't know if that... it could still be called a pier. I don't know if piers have a certain material they have to be made out of. Holding a red suitcase. And at the end of the episode, we see the suitcase at the river, lake, ocean floor. I'll call it ocean floor because this is supposed to be in, I think, fake-ass New York. So we'll just call it the Atlantic Ocean. So I thought to myself, what the fuck does that mean? And why was this in the episode? Because this don't have shit to do with anything else. And it is in no way do they discuss this in the episode. If you'll recall, we learned in the last episode that Apollo's father did not, in fact, abandon Apollo, but that him and Apollo's mom had gotten a divorce, and that she had essentially kind of kept Apollo's dad, Brian, away. Because you remember Apollo's kind of like, yo, that motherfucker could have been babysitting me on Saturday instead of me sitting up in this bitch by myself as a fucking 6-year-old or whatever, the 4-year-old or whatever the fuck he was. My initial thought, and I think this is most likely what this is that the red suitcase contains some of Brian's belongings. Brian, Apollo's father, Brian. More specifically, the belongings that are in that box that he drops off at Apollo's door as a child that had something like, what was that word written on? Like improbable. It wasn't improbable, but it was something like improbable, which makes sense if those are the items that his mom dropped to the bottom of the ocean floor 40 years ago. Also, that makes it a pretty big deal that those items arrived at his house, since his mother would know, that they should be at the bottom of the ocean. But then I got a little bit crazy with it, and I thought, what if there was never anything wrong with Brian? Like Apollo's mom is, talks about how bad of a father and husband he was. But what if he never did anything to deserve to be divorced? Like, the show went out of its way to show us that Apollo is just like him. Like, Apollo doesn't strike me as the kind of guy who'd be a shitty father or a shitty mom. Maybe Brian wasn't. So my next thought was then, what if Apollo's mom is also one of the wise ones? Like, the show is drawn clear parallels between the parents and the children. What if Apollo maybe even used to have a sibling, just like William's kid did, and Apollo's mom killed it because she thought it was a changeling, or it actually was a changeling, and that's what caused the rift between her and Brian, just like it did between their son and his wife, Emma. Just a little food for thought. I don't know. I know it's a crazy fucking theory, but again, they're going out of their way to draw parallels between the parents and the kids, and I don't know. I feel like it kind of makes sense, you guys. But let me know in the comments what you think William's deal is in particular. I think he's still working towards something self-serving and is using Apollo to accomplish it. But we'll see. I'll see you guys next week for episode 5. And until then, peace.